Welcome to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tattooing Network.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Your source for the latest Legion news, opinion, and analysis.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
John Archiquette.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Matt Turner.
I'm not afraid.
And Joshua Gray.
You will be.
What's going on, Outriders? John and just Matt. No Josh with us at the moment. Just Matt.
That's messed up. Jeez.
No, that's not a reflection of the greatness of Matt. It's a reflection of the lack of Josh.
Okay, yeah, we are missing Josh this week, but
I don't know if I'd say missing, but he's not here. Just kidding, Josh. No, so John and Matt, we're hanging out here at Power 9 Games, bringing you the latest and greatest in the world of Star Wars Legion.
Well, there's nothing new, so see you next week, Outriders.
Still the greatest. No, we got some cool stuff for you lined up this week, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than, going over lots of details about the game, I think today we're kind of going to focus a little bit about some of our community. And we have a awesome guest lined up for you later on the show. We got Nick Freeman from the Impact X blog. This dude is all over the Star Wars Legion Facebook groups.
He is internet famous, yes.
Yeah, he is.
Especially for Legionnaires.
He is, but he's extremely knowledgeable. He's been cranking out these blog articles, basically a 1 or 2 a week pace for the last month or so.
Excessive amounts of detail, unit analysis, upgrades. If you haven't seen it, you definitely need to check it out. But Josh and John got to sit down and chat with him for probably a good 30 minutes.
Yeah. So he brought up a lot of great stuff. We'll let that interview speak for itself later on. But we also, had some other opportunities to interact with our community. We'll talk about that throughout the show because that's one great thing about I've noticed through doing this podcast and playing Legion is that we are starting to see a pretty cool community develop.
Yeah, now that it's kind of out of the gates and out in the wild for a while, the people that are like excited for Legion and are going to keep playing, or you're starting to recognize names and faces and stuff, and it's always great when community starts evolving from a new property like this.
And of course, with you having Power 9 here in North Las Vegas, we're seeing a good local community, but we also see people kind of passing through the area.
I mean, that's the great thing about Vegas is there's always business trips coming out this way, and also, hey, it also happens to line up with a vacation I can sell to my wife or significant other. It's like, hey, you want to go to Vegas for a couple days? Oh, also, I'm going to take an afternoon and go play in a game store. So,
of course, it's always going to look fishy. It's like, oh, honey, yeah, can I go to Las Vegas? I swear, I'm going just to play Star Wars Legion.
Yeah, I think people that go to conventions and things like that have that line of reasoning down pat. But yeah.
Of course, if you come buy something, we can give you a receipt, and then you can prove to a skeptical wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, that you actually were here in Las Vegas playing Star Wars Legion.
And you can pose with, I'm sure they have a sweaty Chewbacca and a horrible-looking Darth Vader down on the strip you can pose with.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, you could just come here. I did shave my beard, but
it'll be back by the time I hear this episode.
It's probably true within a week.
Yeah, 5 to 6 inches every day, I think.
Yeah, and then I think I think with how hot it's been here, I'm perpetually sweaty anyway. So that's too much information. Yeah. What do we got for Star Wars related news?
Star Wars news, not a whole lot. We talked a little bit about the whole rumor mill versus the Star Wars Stories movies and versus the trilogies and things like that. Basically, it's just more confusion now. I don't think there's been any declarative statements that I found yet, so we're not sure. It still sounds like they're on indefinite hold for like the Obi-Wan and the Boba Fett and whatnot movies. Yeah, but I think they were, one of the things I was reading was that they were saying, oh no, we were already putting them on hold, prior to, Solo tanking in theaters. So
I feel like that's kind of one of those, like, I don't know, we're going to try to make this sound better than it really is.
Yeah, they're just spinning it. So I don't know. Well, I hope we'll get some more concrete details here going soon. But other than that, for those folks going out to San Diego for Comic-Con this year, apparently there's going to be a 10th anniversary Clone Wars panel with Dave Filoni in attendance and other guest appearances.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence of going to Comic-Con this year. That might actually tip me over a little bit, but I don't know. The whole standing in lines all day thing just always...
So for those of us like me who've never been to Comic-Con, give us a brief rundown of what you would expect there.
Okay, so have you been to, like, Disneyland?
Is that the one in California or Florida?
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Okay, or an amusement park. Have you stood in line for a ride for over an hour?
I was in the Air Force, yes.
Yes, okay, so, quadruple that, and then you don't have a guarantee of actually getting on the ride, and also at the end of the ride is just a chair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
that's Comic-Con?
That's Comic-Con. No, the vendor hall is always a lot of fun, but definitely you have to prepare, and knowing people going there, so you can maybe like, hey, you hold our place in line for this one. You get in line like 8 hours early or the night before for like Hall H and all the big reveal stuff. And then I'll do a different one. But the last time I went was like the first year Game of Thrones was really big on HBO.
Okay.
And I'd always been a fan of the books. I'd been to George Martin panels before, and I wanted to go sit in on this. Waited in line for 4 hours. Didn't even come close to getting in.
And this is the first year?
This is the first year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't imagine it would be like this year with,
Yeah.
the last season coming out and everything.
Yeah, no, I've pretty much given up on that. So, hey, maybe the Clone Wars 10th anniversary panel won't be huge. I'm sure it will be, though. But
I'm sure anything Star Wars related at Comic-Con is still probably going to attract a lot of attention.
I hope I could slip in there. But otherwise, there's always the cool, costumes and the shopping and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff that goes on there, too.
Do we know of any Star Wars actors or actresses that are confirmed being there?
Oh, I probably. I mean, I imagine that, most of the guys, probably not Harrison Ford, but a lot of the other people come out to do, like, the autograph signing and the pictures and all that kind of stuff.
If you got to meet one sci-fi / fantasy / Comic-Con celebrity, who would it be?
Oh, man, you're asking the tough questions now.
That's what we're here for.
I think I'd like to meet George Takei.
Okay, yeah.
Seems like a really cool dude, but... or Miss Captain Picard.
Okay. Patrick Stewart.
Gurney Halleck. No,
I think if you could promise,
he seems like such a genuinely nice man that I think it would be really cool to meet him.
I think if you could promise that I could hang out, like if I could spend a day hanging out with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. Oh man, just be a fly on the wall for their antics.
Yeah. It'd be so. Do you know Ian McKellen does his own pub trivia?
No
in
kidding.
England? Yeah.
No way.
He has a pub in England, and I don't remember I think it's in London, but he has his own pub trivia, and every once in a while he'll show up and he'll actually run the pub trivia.
Wow.
So, like one of my buddies was there and actually has like pictures with him.
They seem very down to earth and very nice people. But I'd be happy to hang out with any of those folks.
That'd be very high on my list.
Yeah. And of course Mark Hamill too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Harrison Ford.
I
love you, but I don't think I'd want to like go get a beer with you, man.
No,
he just seems grumpy.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, so here we go further on the tangent for Comic-Con. I was actually there in 2011 or 12. It was when the Cowboys versus Aliens was being promoted out there.
Oh, I'd be grumpy too if that just came out.
So it hadn't come out yet, but we were seeing previews, and they actually let Harrison Ford out on stage in handcuffs because I'm pretty sure he swore that he would never come to Comic-Con before that. So they had to literally chain him and drag him out is what they were trying to say. It was really fun. Good on him for that, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess good on him for it being a good enough sport to do that. And like having him come out in handcuffs is funny. But...
I'm sure they probably wrote it into his contract like first thing. Because I think it was Jon Favreau that did that film, right? It was just after Iron Man, as I recall.
Was it?
Yeah.
That is not one of his better movies.
No, I was hopeful for that, but then I saw reviews and I just never ended up seeing it. So
I haven't seen it either. I just based on everything I've read on it.
Yeah. Because it had James Bond in it too.
Pierce Brosnan?
No.
Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
Sean Connery?
No. Are we gonna?
Oh my God, getting hotter. Cold.
Roger Moore, yeah.
Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like of any of the Star Wars characters, I feel like Mark Hamill probably would be pretty cool.
Yeah, he'd be pretty cool.
Just because I feel like he'd never let fame get to his head because I don't really know how much fame he really.
I mean,
really
if you're coming back to cameo roles like. The Cockknocker. I think
right.
that you've got to probably have a pretty good, sense of self and where you are in the universe.
Carrie Fisher was in that too, wasn't she? She
was the nun. That's right.
She was the hairy nun.
The rules of the road. Yeah. George Carlin. Oh, man. I can't wait for their next movie. I hope they're still making that. I think they are. And then Kevin Smith's always there at Comic-Con.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think I'm talking myself into going again this year.
There you go. That was the objective of this whole scenario.
Okay,
I'm
thanks,
actually
man.
employed by San Diego's
Yeah.
Comic-Con community. No, that's cool. I mean, it's a place I think eventually at some point I probably want to check out. But
You say I can probably get some passes if you. I know some people that know some people.
I think it was more of like a in the future someday. I don't know.
So,
at some point,
July. Okay, got it.
at some point, we're standing in line for 4 hours and just meeting a C-list celebrity instead of going on an amusement park ride. Whatever that sounds more enjoyable, then I'll go.
Sounds. I mean, just wear your Wookiee onesie and we'll enter you in the costume contest. It'll be great.
I feel like those costume contests probably have to be like the top level of like cosplay people, right?
Yeah, it's never really been my thing, but I do enjoy watching the people. I mean, Adam Savage is very famous for having these just super impressive costumes, and he'll walk around on the floor all day, and then, oh, by the way, this is me, guys. He'll put up pictures of him.
So like you can't even recognize him?
Yeah, he did Hellboy one year. He did.
Cool.
The Spirit from Spirited Away, I think, or was that Princess Mononoke? I don't know, but really cool stuff going on there. That's
awesome. That's a good place where you can go out and get creative, I suppose.
Yeah. As far as any other news, now that we've talked that one to pieces, they've already started announcing details for the Blu-ray for Solo, which is Blu-ray 4K, whatever format. Which I'm sure
VHS.
they're going to be pushing VHS. They're going to be pushing real hard because it didn't do so on the box office. I think they're expecting to hopefully make it up in Blu-ray once word of that it is a good movie gets around. But Target and Best Buy, I guess, are getting some extra pimp editions with Target getting an art book from the concept arts, and then looks like Best Buy will be getting like a Steel Series box case. Which
awesome.
is cool. Yeah.
Doesn't hurt to get a couple extra,
Yeah, no release dates or anything yet, so stay tuned. I mean, I think you'd still see it in the theater, so.
I mean, don't
probably months and months away.
Yeah. Don't tell Disney, but I mean, I was going to buy the movie anyway, so if you want to throw a few extras in there with it, cool. All right.
I mean, I'm sure they'll charge you the extra $2-3.
Yeah, because since Josh isn't here, we can talk about how great the movie was
without
having anybody.
Unanimous decision in this room.
All two members of the Legion Outrider podcast currently recording this episode both give 2 thumbs up. It's a Solo movie. So yeah, we're talking a little bit about the community that we have, already we're seeing within Star Wars Legion, and then with our podcast as well, we've got some pretty awesome fans that write into us every once in a while.
Reaching out and putting up progress of the armies they're working on, and asking questions and whatnot. But actually, just after we recorded was it Thursday? Yeah,
last Thursday.
Yeah. Got to meet Luis Otero, a fellow Air Force guy that was out here on a temporary duty assignment, and he was able to stop by the store. We played a quick 500-point game, and it was a lot of fun. Really cool dude. He's pretty new to Legion, but he has a 40K background, so he was definitely getting those advanced tactics down already. So, I had a great time. He was playing Rebels, so I busted out my Imperials. Went back to Vader. Hadn't played him in quite a while, so Vader and like a couple of units of Stormtroopers with DLTs. And the first round action, I'm sure will make you cry, John. He did his the focused bombardment from Leia.
From Leia, yeah.
And killed 5 out of the 6 guys.
You're kidding me.
Yes. Yeah, just knocked 5 of my Stormtroopers off the board first round before I got to do anything. Felt so awesome at 500 points.
What happened to those dice?
They went south for a little while. They came back, and I saved like a 4 out of 4 there. And,
okay.
So don't worry. The universe is not ending. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, he was playing 2 rotary cannon, ATRTs, Leia, and then troops to fill points, basically, and did a great job. It came down to, at the end, it was we were playing 3 objectives on a 3x3 table.
Yeah.
In the middle of the board, and I was basically down to Vader and like 1 Stormtrooper sergeant. Vader was doing work. He was just killing people left and right, but it wasn't quite enough to, equal out the board state. It definitely outmodeled me a lot, but it was a lot of fun. I think it came down to, Yeah, 5 points to 4 points at the end.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, and he played smart and contested because I only had like 2 guys to score points out of the 3, so he contested where he needed to and then doubled up everywhere else. And yeah, really, really good game.
That's awesome. I'm glad that he had a chance to get a game in. And, for anybody who is Air Force, I know it's a small demographic within our listenership.
Yeah, there's a Venn diagram of a very small overlap of those circles.
Not all listeners are nerds, but everyone in the Air Force is a nerd. So.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but if you ever do have to get a TDY over to Nellis Air Force Base, we're pretty conveniently located
we're
to
about
Nellis.
2 miles out the main gate. So
yeah, so it's an easy Uber ride if you don't have transportation.
Or hell, hit me up if I'm bored and got nothing else to do. I'll come pick you up. So
yeah, and yeah, like we said, by all means, if you're in the area and you want to get a game in, just shoot us a message on Facebook. If I'd have known about that, I'd have stuck around for a little while.
Yeah, you were scooting out the door to go edit the episode, but no, that's cool. Especially hopefully when we get the Discord chat going.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about doing that here soon. I think when we do episode 20, we're probably going to end up launching that now that I've committed myself to an exact date. But
doing all kinds of social media outreach now.
Yeah. Josh is really good with checking that and responding to people. I'll jump on there when I can. I'm just so not social media, but that's probably the difference between me and you public affairs guys. So
don't lump me into that.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for someone to hit us up on Facebook or on MySpace.
Your MySpace page, it's been going with that NSYNC logo for all these years.
The music, it's got like the dazzled background.
Yeah, oh man,
it's tight. So we got our first fan letter that was sent to us, and this was pretty cool. So shout out to Kevin Valliere, I believe, and I could be mispronouncing that because I went overly French with it. But he is the author or blogger for the Imperial Discipline blog, and he's actually put out some really good articles. Read through some of it, and some great stuff not only on tactics and techniques and stuff like that within the game, but he does some really good hobby stuff as well. He's got some tutorials on how to do a Scarif style board and basing for the units and stuff, and they look really, really sharp. So,
cool. He sent us full art Lego Star Wars alternate cards for our commanders.
Let me shout out his stuff too before we
but
get
the
right
Lego
to the
full art.
You must be that really fun kid at Christmas who just or either that or I was the parent who would no, read your card. Who's the from?
Yeah,
who's the present from?
Let me go straight to the cool stuff. No, thanks very much. And he goes by Groggy Dog on. If you're hanging out on the Friday night stream chats when we do Legion stuff, he's always in there, and awesome dude. Just shoot the crap with and talk Star Wars. But dude, thanks so much.
What do we get?
Yeah, right. But he sent us one for Luke, Vader, Leia, and Veers, and 3 of each. So I assume that means you get 1, I get 2, and Josh gets left out. So.
Now we'll post some pictures of it up on the Facebook page because there's some really cool looking cards. If you're a fan of Legos, I'm sure most people who enjoy Star Wars are probably a fan of Legos because who didn't grow up with Legos? Right. But they're awesome.
Us poor children. Thank you for reminding me.
I mean, even poor kids got Legos somehow.
No, we got the Duplos.
Even if you just dried out corn kernels.
Man, use your imagination. But let's see. Also this week, I got registered for February 2019 for Las Vegas Open. So they've only got one Legion event right now on a Friday, but I've got a ticket for it at least. So.
Okay. Is it a FFG sponsored event, or how's that work?
I think so. I don't think it's an official qualifier or anything.
Okay.
It should be a good time. So, hey, John, go get your ticket.
I should probably do that.
You should probably do that.
It seems how LVO's right over here.
I mean, yeah, it is just down the street, so
roughly.
Yeah, I mean it's still 2019. I'm hoping they might add some more events if this one fills up, but we'll see.
Well, I've not been out to LVO yet. Actually, this is probably going to take away any kind of street cred that I had.
Oh,
but
you don't have any street cred.
I've never been
we
to
don't have any street cred.
Any major convention of any sort. I know.
Change your life, man. It's a lot of fun.
I feel like it's probably time to start. So since LVO is right here, I'll probably go to that this next year.
Cool.
And
I think go to Adepticon and Gen Con, and
I do want to try to make it to the one in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Just because it's close to home. And
wait, the one in Minneapolis. What's this?
Isn't that the Worlds? Or...
Oh yeah, but you got to get invited to do that now. It's not just an open thing anymore for Legion.
Okay,
my understanding, anyways.
I know it's never cool to invite yourself to a party, but hey, FFG, Alex Davey, feel free to invite me. I'm
they
cool.
Listen.
I'm a nice guy.
If they listen, they probably blocked us on all social media.
I'll bring hot dish. I will bring hot dish.
Is that a northern delicacy I'm not familiar with?
If you're from Minneapolis, you know what hot dish is. I will bring some delicious hot dish.
Oh, okay.
And don't hold the fact that I'm a Packers fan against me.
Do they have a Tim Hortons up there or anything? That's as far north as I know.
Not quite that far north. That's a little further north. Timbits are good though. I will never.
I have heard that. I'll try that eventually. Well, you're leaving next week, so a little look into next week's episode. John's going to be freaking touring the Mediterranean, and it's going to be me and Josh here in a no-holds-barred cage match, fight to the death.
Sunday.
We're gonna hammer out a top 10 list for Star Wars movies.
Oh,
and only one of us will survive. No, I wouldn't get into that with him. Oh my God!
I was gonna say
literal blood.
I would hide anything with any sharp objects in this recording studio.
What are you talking about? All we've got is blunt instruments and sharp objects.
There's
literally a battle axe on the wall right now.
I was gonna say that or one of those two. Delicately articulated ATSTs behind you is probably. One of those is going to end up somewhere that they don't belong.
He choked to death on his ATST. It was the weirdest thing.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with Nick Freeman from the Impact X blog.
Yeah.
Tune in every Wednesday to Radio Free Tatooine, a Star Wars podcast that's better than some and worse than others. Take a trip to a water cooler far, far away as we bring some casual, fun conversation into the Star Wars podcasting community. Hosted by me, Sean, my sister Amy, and John. Radio Free Tatooine. We may not know what we're talking about, but we sure know how to record it. For more, visit RadioFreeTatooine.com, a proud member of the Radio Free Tatooine Podcast Network.
What's going on, Outriders? We got Josh and John here. We're hanging out with one of our favorite listeners. This is Nick Freeman. Now, for those of you guys who are regulars on the Star Wars Legion Facebook page, Nick has pretty much been the statistical guru. What's going on, Nick?
Hey, guys. How's it going? The website for those guys listening is legionimpact.com.
Yeah, so legionimpact.com, and you've been pretty regularly posting stuff on that page. I'd say, maybe once a week you've been posting a new blog?
That's the goal, yeah. Trying to do one a week.
So what's been your experience going into creating this blog? Are you a regular war gamer? Or are you a statistical guy? What's your background?
So I've been playing war games since middle school, and I played War Machine really competitively for the last 6 or 7 years. And so I've transitioned games, and I kind of noticed nobody was picking up that role for Legion. So since I have the experience, I decided to go for it.
So what made you, as we kind of followed this on Facebook, I saw you made a post hey, what should I do? Because I know you kind of we're trying to choose between battle reports and videos and blog. How did you settle finally on doing a blog, and why a blog as opposed to any of those other mediums?
Okay, so the goal is to do a video battle report and a blog. Doing the video once a month and the blog weekly. And the problem I had with doing a podcast or something is just my time is so limited and so weird because of my day job. So it's something that I can do in off hours on my own, and that kind of really made that easy for me.
Reading through it, you really go in depth into a lot of the the specifics of a lot of units and things like that, and really cover a lot of detail. Was there a lot of statistical basis when you were playing in War Machine that you saw affected the game?
War Machine I think is a much more precise and math-based game, and so there is a lot of more analysis that goes into list building and what counters what. Legion has that as well, but I think it's kind of to a lesser extent.
Do you think there's more variables within Legion? With with cover and terrain and all that stuff like that? Yeah,
I wouldn't call them variables. I'd call them forgiveness. It's a lot easier to, you can be a little bit sloppier and and have that there to save you.
Nice. Okay.
How so? Well, explain that a little bit.
Sure. So, I mean, you have these mitigating factors like dodge and cover that are adding known amounts, whereas in War Machine, a lot of it's variable. So you're rolling 2 dice for everything. So it's less of a chance to. So the cover and stuff is it's a known quantity.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So with Star Wars Legion, because we don't have the obvious, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's not just the D6. You've got D8s involved and things like that. Do you think that makes it less tangible for gamers who don't look at things with a mathematical sense like you do?
No, I think with Legion it's exactly the same. If you're looking at Armada, where like some of the dice have different symbols or multiple symbols, it changes. But Legion, since it really is success or not, I think it's pretty accessible.
So how important as a competitive wargamer do you think that it is to understand the economy of a unit value? Like, I guess in sports you would call it like a win above replacement, with the efficiency of a unit. How important is that in competitive gaming?
I think it's important to know, but I don't think it's important to follow necessarily, if that makes sense. Like, you want to know what a unit's expected to do, but each unit has a specific role, and there's intangibles like range or threat extension, stuff like that. So I think it's important to know the value of a unit, but that doesn't mean you need to follow it.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about your methodology. I know you've got averages and how you come to all of those numbers. Sure.
So I started off with a blog post called The Average Trooper, in which I kind of just tried to figure out where the designers' heads were when they were designing the game, what their balancing point is. And so when I did that, I found that in the game there's nothing that's perfectly average. It's kind of a mix between Rebel troopers and stormtroopers. And so I used that kind of imaginary unit as a baseline to measure things from.
So do you think that by having, just units not quite be exactly average, having them skew just a little bit above or below, do you think that helps to add variety between the two factions? Because only having two factions, it's hard to add a lot of variety so far.
Oh, definitely. And I think they've been doing a really great job of keeping a theme through each faction and kind of specializing it so they don't feel similar at all, even though kind of mathematically they are. They play very differently.
So not to just keep dumping math questions out here. So we're gonna throw a few other variables in here. Matt was really.
I actually had another math question.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, let's space them out.
One more math question.
We'll space them out.
Okay, we'll space them out.
So, what's your love for Star Wars like? What are you a huge Star Wars fan? Are you just more of a wargaming fan?
I'd say I'm a big fan. I have read a lot of the EU books, but I'm not as extreme as most or some.
All right, so you're probably more on my level then.
Yeah.
So what got you into Legion? We've talked about on the show, like I'm an old X-Wing guy. John is a bolt-action Warhammer guy. Matt owns a game store. You used to play War Machine. So did you give up a game to come to Legion? Or what made Legion your jam to get you to the point that you want to jump in and write blogs, especially when you say your time's kind of limited?
Yeah, so I did give up War Machine to play Legion, and because I'm what I would call a competitive player, I can really only focus on one game at a time. So right now that is Legion, and a lot of it was Star Wars, but also I love the way the system is designed. So there's multiple things going for it.
Like what?
The activation tokens and having to plan what you can control when is a very interesting system, as well as the command cards. I don't think any of it's necessarily original, but the way they combine it is very unique.
What's your opinion on how the meta has developed to this point where, the game first came out and people were just literally throwing everything against the wall to see what was sticking, and now it's kind of become clear that activations are king, and everybody's trying to get as many activations out of that list as possible. What's your opinion on kind of the state of the meta of the game right now?
So I think that with how fast they're releasing things, it's still hard to say there is a meta. I think with the way that mission objectives work, activations will be, the more activations you have, the more likely you are to succeed to an extent. But the way that they're designing future units, you can definitely have higher value units that still are effective without being unbalanced.
Right now, folks seem to be shooting for 9 to 10 activations. Do you see anywhere with what's on the horizon in the game where that kind of throttles back a little bit, and maybe something with 6 or 7 becomes really competitive?
So kind of just like the napkin math I was doing, 8 is kind of what I see as average, and you can hit 11, probably 13 once the emplacement troopers come out. But I think that you kind of lose value at a certain point. And so when I'm building a list, I try and keep it between 8 and 10. The current list I'm playing, for example, is 8.
Now, the unit that you just, or the list that you just posted on the Star Wars Legion page recently, it was the list that you said you're going to take to Gen Con this year.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that list?
I'm going to play it at least once, but it's Luke and Leia with 6 Rebel Troopers and 3 ATRTs. And the idea is more about the objectives, because the way Legion works, you don't need to actually deal damage to win. You just need to capture scenario points. And so this list kind of does that. It doesn't engage with the enemy, and it just has so many things going so many places.
Now, I saw with those units that you're running all 6 of the Rebel Trooper units completely bare bones. So I'm assuming that you're not expecting them to put forth any kind of offensive firepower.
Probably not. With the way that terrain and dodge works, I would expect them to put out suppression more than damage, and that's acceptable. Being able to take away activations in this game is a huge part of it. And like I said, you can win without ever killing a model. So that's the goal with that list.
So have you played much with the Imperial side of things?
Yeah, that's actually what I'm focusing on right now, is playing a Veers list.
What are you running for your Imperial list?
So that would be, it's Veers, 2 snowtroopers, 2 stormtroopers, and a fully decked out ATST with all 4 weapons in Weiss. And
really?
That's been doing pretty well, yeah.
Okay, because we've had a mixed bag, I think, in our local meta as far as ATST is concerned. We've had a couple people try to run dual ATST lists, and then I think some of the more better performing ones have had one, but they usually don't run it fully kitted out. Now, what's your reasoning behind running it fully kitted out?
To make it flexible, if you're running just the 2 cannons, you're pretty stuck in how it plays. But if you got all 4, then you can do whatever you want with it. You can move it. You can use it as a parked artillery. It's just the flexibility is really important, and that's kind of my play style in general. Is I don't want to dedicate anything to something the opponent might not be doing. Sure.
Now, how viable do you think Vader is right now?
I like him a lot. I think. I played him in my Kingdom Con list, which it ended up winning. But I think the opponent has too many ways to negate him right now. For example, if you put him on Long March with key positions or something, he's relatively useless for the game, and that's an awful thing. But as more objectives come out, I think he'll come back.
What do you think is the most cost-efficient unit that we've seen so far in Legion?
Cost-efficient? There's different ways to look at that.
Where are you getting the most bang for your buck?
Yeah. What's the best value? Yeah.
It's going to be either ATRTs for the survivability or fleet troopers for the damage output.
Yeah, I recently just got to play with fleet troopers, and I'm with you on that. They can put out a lot of offensive firepower.
Breaks my heart. There's no Imperials in there. not even a mention for the DLT.
So I think if you ask me what the best unit is, I would say stormtroopers. But the most yeah. Because they're not great at anything, but they can do everything. So the stormtroopers with the DLT is probably the best unit, but I don't know if they're the most efficient.
Okay, and just as far as they're the best, as in like they're the most balanced.
Yeah,
the,
so
the
they're kind of
upgrade
like
options that they have.
They're kind of like a jack of all trades. They can soak up wounds. They can put out damage. They don't need cover to live. I think that you can put them into any situation, and they'll be okay to handle their own.
Now, you talked before about what the release schedule looked like for the game so far. Do you think that in order for this game to be viable and for the game to shape into something that's well rounded, do you think that the current pattern we're seeing is viable?
As long as it keeps up, yeah. So the rumor I had heard is they're trying to do at least a release every month, and if they can keep that up, I think the game will stay strong. But what I've noticed, like in War Machine especially, is that the leaders are kind of what add the flavor to a list, and so I think for Legion to really keep up its steam, it needs to add more leaders so that there's more variety. I think it can do fine with 2 factions, but more leaders for sure.
Sure. Now, do you think that we'll start seeing more dual commander lists?
Oh, I think it depends on the commanders. Like Luke and Leia is definitely good. I think Leia and Han is probably going to be good, but I don't really see it happening for the Imperials that much.
Now, with Boba Fett dropping, though, do you think that's going to end up changing the way that people are running? The twins are running Leia and Han.
I think so. I think Boba he's an interesting piece because he doesn't actually do as much damage as I think people think he does, but he does really interesting things to the rest of the mechanics in the game.
Yeah, I mean he's a commander hunter. I mean that's basically he's on the board to go do one thing, and that's to kill commanders.
Right. So I don't think he's going to change the meta as much as people as I've seen people thinking he will.
Now, have you been to any tournaments yet? I noticed that but one of your recent blog posts was about the tournament scene. Have you done any larger tournaments with Legion yet?
Yeah, so I did Kingdom Con, which I think was it was 6 tables, and then I've done 7 or 8 local tournaments, which have been anywhere from 4 tables to 8 tables.
Now, how did the scene look like at Kingdom Con?
So it was Wave 1 only. So it was 50-50 Rebels and Imperials, which was a nice to see, but the lists were pretty similar at that point.
So no Leia, no Veers?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose you're not going to get a whole lot of variety with that list then.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So as far as Gen Con, you said you'd be taking that Rebel list to Gen Con. Mm-hmm. What are your goals for tournaments when you show up there? Do you want to win it all every time? I mean, obviously, that's the best scenario, but
not necessarily. I want to win at least one of the 3. That way, I'm qualified and I can play fun stuff the rest of the year. But I mean, that's kind of my goal for the Gen Con too, is to win one tournament and then just play fun stuff and see what other people are doing.
So getting back to the math, you'd kind of talked about what the average trooper is, and it's really easy, I think, with troops because you've got a single model that has 1 health. It rolls a certain die for attack, certain for defense. It surges a certain way. And it's really easy to come up with a baseline average for what an average trooper is. How does that math and that model equate over to vehicles where you have so many different variables between armor and dodge and all of different? You're not rolling 1 die for an attack. You're rolling, 6 dice for an airspeeder, or possibly only 3 dice for an ATRT. So how does that math work out for you to get an average vehicle?
Sure. So the way I've done it, and I'm sure there's plenty of ways to do it, but the way I've done it is I've found with that average trooper unit what 80 points gets you, which is 10% of your list. And it turns out that most things in the game break down nicely into an 80-point unit. So at 80 points, we find that your average damage output is 4, and your average wounds are 6. And so the T-47, for example, is what 2 80-point units plus a little. So we find that it should be doing 8 damage, and it should have at least 12 health worth of survivability. And I have to figure out how armor calculates into that, but it's pretty close on survivability between cover and armor. But we find that its damage output is a little bit low at that point range.
So you're thinking that ATST would still probably be more viable for its points?
Right.
Gotcha. What upgrades do you think are the most worthwhile to take? Or cost efficiency wise?
So right now I think it's probably environmental gear because it's so cheap and it adds an intangible or unquantifiable benefit, being able to move faster. So I think that's probably the best upgrade at the moment.
Now, that's assuming you're probably playing a meta that has a lot of terrain, or people who are playing with a recommended 25% board coverage at least.
Right. I think otherwise either one of the grenades is also very strong at the moment.
So with the list that you took, you brought 3 ATRTs, but 2 of them are laser cannon and one of them is rotary. Now, I've been a huge advocate since the game came out that I love rotary cannons, just because giving that natural surge to crit, you're going to be critting 25% of the time. What is your reasoning for going with more laser cannons?
So I think I put it in the post, but you're right that the rotary cannon is a better weapon. It does more. It's going to average about the same amount of damage. The reason I took the laser cannons in that list is that to get the equivalent damage against a vehicle with the rotary cannon, you would have to aim and shoot. With the rotary cannon, I can move and shoot, which means I can kill the other person's ATRT before they can kill mine. So that's the thought there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what is your favorite layout for cards for before you start the game? What cards are you usually looking for?
In which way?
Like, do you like clear conditions, or do you like getting the limited visibility? Like, what are the ones you're shooting for with your play style?
So at this point, I think intercept the transmission is my favorite mission. So I'll take that every time I can. And then the rest, it really depends on the list. But hostile environment, I've been having a lot of fun with.
Really? Okay. Even with the a lot of trooper units.
Oh, definitely. Because the meta is very trooper heavy. So I'm expecting everybody to have it.
Okay.
So when I take it, I've played it more times than the other person probably, and at that point I have a better idea of what to expect.
So you're just prepared for it.
Right. It's just better preparation.
Now, when you go to these tournaments, you go to Kingdom Con and stuff like that, are you seeing any kind of lists that stray away from that trooper heavy build? Are you seeing any dual ATST lists or dual speeder lists?
Not in my meta. So I've been following your podcast, and I've heard there's people doing double T-47s, double ATSTs, but locally, no. It's been very trooper heavy here. What
did you think of Solo? I gotta ask it.
We're gonna fight.
All right.
No, we're not gonna fight.
So I liked it. I didn't love it, but it was better than I expected it to be.
Cool. We're on the same page then.
Yeah.
Were you disappointed at all when you found out that, or actually I should ask, am I breaking the news to you here that they're not going to be releasing any of the new spin-off Star Wars movies?
No, so I did hear that, but I think I think it's better that they come back and find what was working. I know they've had a lot of team changes there. So I work in media, so I follow this a lot.
Okay.
They had a lot of team changes in upper management, and that's kind of after Rogue One. That's kind of changed the quality of the content coming out. So
Gotcha.
I think it's a good thing that they slow down and figure out what was working.
Say 6 months from now, down the road, presuming we're going on the same schedule that they've been doing for releases, do you think that you're going to stick with Legion, or do you foresee yourself going back to War Machine?
Well, I've committed to the year, so after Worlds, I'll reevaluate. But I'm definitely going to play through Worlds at least and see how it goes.
What's your opinion on the state of the game right now? Is it good? Is it healthy? Does it need something? What's your thoughts on the future of the game?
So at the moment, I think it's still emerging. I think for how long it's been out, it's okay. And I'm excited for the future of it. But I think it's still waiting on kind of the competitive framework to happen. So for example, Worlds only pulls the top 8 from Adepticon, which is not great. There's a lot of Australian players, there's a lot of European players. So I think it needs to have a little bit more of the framework in place to say it's doing well, but it's definitely headed in the right direction.
That kind of wraps it up for us.
Just about everything we
questions
had.
that we have. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. We really appreciate you hanging out with us here, and hopefully we'll catch you again sometime.
Definitely. I've got to make it out to Vegas to play some games with you guys.
Yes, please. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, anytime you do, you need a place to play. Power 9, we got plenty of tables here and a lot of good people to play with.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, guys.
All right, take care, bud.
You too. Bye.
You're listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network, recorded on location at Power 9 Games. Whether you're looking for the latest releases from Legion, X-Wing, 40K, Magic, or any of our other extensive inventory of board and card games, head to power9games.com and use coupon code OUTRIDER10 to get 10% off your order. Plus, shipping is free on orders over $100. Now, back to the Outriders.
So that'll wrap it up for this week's podcast, guys. I want to thank you very much for listening to us this week. Now, next week, as we talked about before, I'm going to be out of the country and somewhere in the hills where I don't have the ability to record audio. And
can we send the audio files on like Donkey Train?
You probably could.
It'd
be like Godfather 2 or Godfather 1 where he's like retreating in the hills of Sicily and you have to like send
beautiful.
word. Yeah, no.
And make sure and pick up all the preview copies of all the Legion stuff that's going to be coming out down there.
Yeah, since we all know already that Italy has the first
Silk
release,
Road,
the Silk Road, to all of the products FFG ever made. So, I'm going to come back with the, Emperor Palpatine model and all these other things that haven't even been
all the
previewed
Death
yet.
Troopers and cavalry and
Italy's actually
support.
in the future.
Oh, also, thanks for the folks that pointed out, I meant to mention this earlier, but we were talking about the combat units and all that. Apparently we weren't being, creative there. We were just regurgitating stuff that we'd already read in the rule book and forgotten about.
Oh.
So there's actually rules for them. We don't know what they do. It just says that you can have like attachment units like medics and whatnot. So thanks for the guys that posted that up. I think that was Darren and cohort.
I totally knew that. That was
No, these are things we know.
Yes. So that was why
We were testing you.
Good job.
Yeah.
We have such great listeners.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, we're gonna head out for this week. Next week, make sure you guys come back because Matt and Josh will be here. And
if it doesn't go up, that means that tragedy happened.
Oh, God.
Much tragedy.
All right. Take care, Outriders. All right, folks, that's our show for this week. Just want to remind you that the Legion Outrider podcast is brought to you by the Radio Free Tatooine Network, a podcast network that's better than some and worse than others. To see the full lineup of shows, head to radiofreetatooine.com. See you next week, Outriders.
You've been listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
For more from the Outriders, make sure you like us on Twitter at Legion Outriders, subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Legion Outriders, and make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.